So what's going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another Zombies Q&A on the channel, the series where I take your questions from the comment section below to do with zombie storyline, Easter eggs, and I answer them. As always, if you're going to enjoy today's video, you know what to do. Drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. But without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go and enjoy. The first question of today from Joker2007 says, "Hey BOA, I've got a few questions. 1. How does the Earth get restored after the missiles? Does the universe collide again, restoring it? 2. Is the spaceman actually infected with 115? And 3. What did Zombie Richtofen mean when he says, 'No, I haven't forgotten about you,' in Tagdo Totem before the Dark Ether destroys their universe?" So for your first question, how does the Earth get restored after the missiles destroy it? That one's simple. It is a different universe. When we see the Earth restored after Black Ops 2, so that would be the final map, Origins, or BO3 and 4. The reason for that is we're in a different universe to the destroyed one. As for your second question, is the spaceman infected with element 115? Again, yes, because the spaceman is a zombie. Inside of the spacesuit is the undead, and in order to turn into a zombie, you have to be infected with 115. So again, the answer to that is yes. And if you don't know who the spaceman is, his actual name before he turned was Private Hastings. He was an astronaut that worked for the Americans. He was a part of a teleportation experiment in Classified when they were attempting to send a man to space via teleportation. So they put him onto the teleporter at Groom Lake, teleported him to the moon, but he never returned. Instead, he became infected with 115 on the moon, and he is still there to this day. The spaceman is Private Hastings as a zombie. And then your third question, what did Richtofen mean in Tagdo Totem when he said, "No, I haven't forgotten you"? Well, this one's up for speculation because I'm not 100% sure myself. It starts off where after Victus have collected the Argothan device from Tagdo Totem, usually when the characters complete a task for Richtofen, he would then tell them to move on to their next location, or he would tell them what's going to happen next. But after Victus got the Argothan device, Richtofen went quiet, and so you can see in the cutscene Stuhlinger says, Richtofen, has something gone wrong? Because usually by now, they'd be on to the next thing. Stuhlinger says, "We did everything you asked. You haven't forgotten about us, have you?" And then Richtofen replies, "No, Sammy, I haven't forgotten about you." Where the camera then pans over to Zombie Richtofen, it was actually him that was talking to Stuhlinger. And then the final interaction that the two have is just before Victus are banished to the Dark Ether. Stuhlinger says to Richtofen, "What are you talking about? We found the Argothan device." And then Richtofen's last words to Stuhlinger are, "I know, and I am so sorry." Richtofen knew all along that this would be the end of Victus. They weren't going to make it out alive. He knew after this, they would end up trapped in the Dark Ether. Of course, he couldn't tell them that because then they're not going to do what Richtofen asks. So, as he's done since the very beginning, since he met them, he played them. But this time, I guess you could say it was for the best. But yeah, why Richtofen would say to Stuhlinger, "I haven't forgotten about you," is a bit weird, but then again it isn't, because Richtofen hasn't forgotten about them. He knows what's going to happen. He just can't say it because, well, maybe it's the relationship that he's built up with Stuhlinger. But also, if he told them what would actually happen, then they wouldn't have collected the Argothan device for him. He's just saying, "I haven't forgotten about you," because he hasn't. Stuhlinger thought he had, but he didn't. The next question says, what happened if Ultimus Richtofen never built the teleporter and never teleported to Moon and never touched the MPD? Would the story of Ultimus exist? Well, yes and no. If Richtofen never teleported to the Moon, which was in the beginning of our story, when he was working at Doris, then the story would have ended there. He wouldn't have been infected by the Dark Ether, so he wouldn't have tried to have killed Maxis, which means Samantha wouldn't have been in control of the zombies, and just everything else after that would have been totally different. So zombies, even before it began, wouldn't have happened. But you could also say yes, I suppose, because if Richtofen never built the teleporter, if he never went to the Moon and touched the MPD, the cycle would just simply reset, and it would keep resetting until Richtofen did exactly what his role was in the cycle. We know when something goes wrong in the timeline or something veers off, the cycle resets over and over again until the characters complete what they need to do, until they play their part in the loop. So technically, if Richtofen never did any of those things, the zombie storyline wouldn't exist. But also, it would, because if he didn't do any of those things, the cycle would reset until he did what he's supposed to do. Laser Booth says, "Hey BOA, can the zombies speak because we can hear them saying Sam?" So I'm going to play you some sound effects of the zombies from World at War, Black Ops 1 and BO2. I think there are also some BO3 ones in here as well, but the ones that they use in BO4 are just recycled with new voices. So I'm going to let you listen to the noises that the zombies make, and then we'll come back and see if they say anything after.
Let's go.
So, as you just heard, there are a few sounds in there that could be words. The most famous one is Sam.
Sam!
The zombies have said this word since the beginning back in World at War, and we've always said the reason why the zombies say Sam is because during that time, Samantha was their controller. Sam was the person they listened to, hence why they said her name. But that's really the only word that we can say for sure the zombies say, which on its own is quite impressive because they're zombies, they are brain dead. The fact that they are able to say a word, pretty good. But it does also sound like there might be a few other ones in there as well. It's just really difficult to make out because it's so mushed up and they're groaning and grunting. Obviously with the voice changer and layers on there, it's difficult to make out if they're actually saying words or just making random noises. But the zombies 100% do say the word Sam, so they can speak a little bit. I would be interested to know if they could say anything else. Why when Richtofen was in control of them didn't they say, I don't know, Edward or Eddie, Ricky? They've always just made random grunts, which you would expect. Most games with zombies, they don't actually talk. So, there we go guys, that is it. That is all I have for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, goodbye.